particular algorithm. Okay, now basically in a simple terms, asymptotic notation means we try to find how a particular algorithm, the time complexity or its time consumption increases as the instance characteristic of that particular algorithm increases. Okay, it basically tells the growth of the time, that is the time computation that by that particular algorithm keeps on increasing as and when the data input, that is input data value increases. Consider certain examples here. Say if we have two algorithms, right? Let's say that first algorithm is complexity is 2n and the other one is n square. Let me write n square as this way. Okay, n to the power of 2. Assume there we have two algorithms. Okay, first algorithm call it as algorithm A and the second algorithm call it as algorithm B. Okay, now these are the its time we can say the time complexity or the amount of time it required by these particular two algorithms in order to compute the its input values. Okay, now so here what we will try to understand is that how this particular based upon the instance characteristics. Instance characteristics here is the value of a n. If n increases, how these time complexity of respective a and b will increase. For suppose if we consider n as 1, if n is 1, what do you think the value of the first algorithm, what will be the time complexity? It is 2 into 1, that is 2. Assume that it is just a consider that it is 2 minutes for simple understanding. Okay, now it is 2 minutes. Whereas for the second algorithm, again n value is what? 1. 1 to the power of 2 means it is 1 square. It remains as again 1 itself. Now consider n value as 2. When the n value becomes 2, the algorithm A, what will be its time complexity? 2 into 2, that is 4. Right? And what about the time complexity of B? It is 2 raised to 2, that is again 2 into 2, that is 4. So again, if you look into these two examples, when n was 1, algorithm A was taking 2 minutes, whereas algorithm B was taking 1 minute of a time. When n become 2, we assume that the time complexity is in the minutes format and then both were taking 4 minutes of a time. But when n becomes 3, can you tell me what will be the time complexity of A and B respectively?
6 and 9.
6 and
9.
9. This is 6. This is 9. Right? Now, what about n equals to 4? A
8 and
becomes
16.
8 and 16.
16.
Okay, in the initial values, we may find that okay, the A was the algorithm B was better than A. Okay, for the first value of n. For the second value of n, both were behaving at the same values. But when the n value kept on increasing here, what we figured out, the algorithm which was having the time complexity as 2n was behaving much faster than the other algorithm. Right? Now, if you look at here, the result, that is the time complexity, it increases based upon the value of n. That is what the time complexity, it increases as the instance variables value keep on changing. And most of the time these values we keep on incrementing, we keep on increasing, so that we need to find out how the time complexity of the algorithm increases, to what level they can increase, right? So the study of these, we call it as an asymptotic representation or asymptotic notation. Okay, for other example, to understand the better example here, let us take some linear search algorithm, right? Linear search algorithm means what? We have an one-dimensional array here. Consider the elements as 10. Okay, let's say the name of the array is ARR. We have 10, 20, 30, 40 and 50 as the 5 elements. Okay, now the index values for respective elements is going to be 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, so total n value here is 5. The n value is 5. Now pay attention and try to understand. Suppose we are trying to search a particular element. Say element is 10. Element is 10. Now, as the concept or the algorithm search we are trying to have here is a linear search. That means one element after the next element we are going to look upon. What we will do first, we will try to compare this particular element with the 0th indexed value, that is 0th indexed element. If both are same, then the search is successful. Then we will break at that instance only. We will not proceed further. Isn't it? Now what will happen in this case? The first element itself is the element which we are looking for. That means the search has become successful. Then for us, we no need to consider the search with respect to the remaining elements. We can stop here itself. So this time when the element was the array element at the 0th index, when it was the first element, we can call it to be a first element. When this particular search element was the first element, the time complexity was just 1 here. It was just 1 because at the first time only we got the search results. The algorithm resulted in a proper outcome. Algorithm resulted or gave us a proper result. Okay, now consider the other situation. When the element is 50, assume that the element is 50. What will happen in the linear search algorithm? We will start looking for whether this particular element is the first element. No. Then we will move on to the next element. Is it the second element? No. We go on to the next element. Like that, we keep on incrementing the index values until we find the or until we can successfully search the given element. Now here you can look at the last element is the element which we are searching for. So what will happen here? The search will become successful. Search has become successful, but the time complexity is what here? The time complexity has become n here. N in the sense there were 5 elements and 5 times we could able to compare every element, right? The element with the every element of the element, and we continued up to the last element. Then the search has become successful. Means the algorithm has given us a result. But in order to give this particular result, it has consumed or it has iterated to n times. Right? So first time when we try to compare or we want to check the existence of the first element, the time complexity was 1. But when the element was the last element, then it was the n value. Right? Now, between these two examples, what do you think? Which is the best case or which is the worst case? Best case means the algorithm has given us a result in a very quicker time. Okay, the time consumption was very fast and we could able to get the result very easily, very quickly. Whereas the worst case means you can think that, okay, it is the value of the n or the element where we got the output, but it took a longer time to get the result. For which particular element the algorithm, the runtime of the algorithm was quickest? Was it for the element 10 or the element 50?
Element 10.
Element 10.
10.
So element 10 means when the instance characteristics, in other terms we can say when the instance characteristic was the first element, then this algorithm was very best. Means the best case for this algorithm to work in a very fastest manner was when the instance characteristic was the first element. On the other hand, the algorithm runs slowest when the instance characteristics was the last element. Means the element which we are searching was the last element. That time the algorithm, the time consumption is very slowest. Okay, so this, the fastest and the slowest, we treat them to be a type of the best case scenario, and the slowest one we call it to be a worst case scenario. When the instance characteristic was the best, In the sense, the algorithm will work very efficiently and it will try to give the results in a very quickest manner or in a quickest time. Then we call it to be a best case scenarios. And if the same algorithm consumes a lot of time, okay, the largest amount of a time or the longest amount of a time, in that case, the instance characteristics or the value of an n, we call it to be a worst case scenarios. Is that understood, students? The basic concept of what a best case and what a worst case is. Best case means the algorithm works very quickly, or the runtime of the algorithm, we can say it to be a very short. Whereas in the worst case, the runtime of the algorithm is very worst. It takes a longest time to compute the results. Okay. Now, any value within this best case and the worst case, that is between this 1 and a n, any value, we call it to be a average case. We call it to be an average case. Whenever the value is neither, the instance characteristics is neither a best case value nor the worst case value, then such a particular value of a n, we call it to be an average case. Is that understood?
Yes, sir.
Let me open that particular PDF and I will show you this one. The average case formula for this linear search will come in this way. Can anyone explain me why I wrote these particular terms? Have you at least looked into the PDF, what the notes I have given? The average case was calculated in this way. Can anyone tell me how did I arrive at this particular step here from the previous step? The simple mathematical series AP. In the numerator, what I have here, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus up to n. So we want to find out an average. So n numbers divided by n. Sum of this is what? Sum of natural number. Sum of n natural number formula is what? N into n plus 1 divided by 2. N into n plus 1 divided by 2 is the sum of n natural numbers. And we also have a denominator already n. So it becomes 2n. So on average case, the performance of this particular linear search will be n plus 1 divided by 2, where n is any number between the second number up to the one number before the last. That means n cannot be a first number and n cannot be the last number, because when n becomes 1, that becomes the best case, because 1 plus 1 divided by 2, correct? And at the same time, when n becomes the last element, then it will become the worst case scenarios. Okay, now asymptotically, we can represent this best case, worst case and average case with mathematical notations. We call them to be a big O notation and omega notation and the theta notation respectively. The big O notation indicates it is the upper bound. Upper bound means the worst case scenarios. The worst case scenarios are considered to be a big O. Big O actually it is what? A O written in a capital letter. The notation is, it's a Greek word, like how we have this omega and theta. I think you have come across with these terms, right? Omega and theta.
Yes, sir.
In maths, you might have written, right, the theta and omega, right? In the same way, there is one more notation. We call it to be a big O, that is the capital letter case O or uppercase O. Okay, let me show you that also, the PDF document. Okay, now the big O notation, the uppercase O. Big O indicates as the worst case of a particular algorithm with respect to its time complexity. Big O notation indicates the upper bound. Upper bound means it is a value or the time complexity. Beyond that, it will never consume the time. By that particular time, the definitely algorithm will give us a certain result. It may definitely the algorithm will not take more than that particular time. right? That we represent it as a big O. In the same way, the omega notation. Omega notation means here the lower bound. Lower bound means the shortest time. Shortest time means it is again a best situation or a best case situation for particular algorithm. And to represent the intermediate values, right, the average cases, then we take care of a theta. Okay, the theta indicates the asymptotic, the average case efficiency of a given algorithm. Right now, in our calculations, in finding out the time complexity of a particular algorithm, we will only focus upon the big O notation. Because why we only focus upon a big O notation? Because we want to find out how long the maximum value of the time, how much a particular algorithm takes. If we can find out that one, that means beyond that particular time, any algorithm cannot perform. If it is giving a particular result, then that will be the maximum time. Beyond that, it will not give. Only the values we can get below to that or maximum to that particular time consumption. That is what a big O notation means. Okay, certain constant or certain standard notations are there in a big O, that is big O of 1. These calculations, okay, we are going to find out for a particular algorithm in the next exercises. Okay, now big O of 1 means here O within the bracket we write certain numbers, right? It can be a instance characteristics or it can be a constant value. Constant value means, say if it is a 1 or say if it is a big O of 2, big O of 3, then we call it as a constants. Why constant? Because the time complexity doesn't depend upon the instance characteristics. Whatever might be the value of the n, the time consumption is going to be the same. That is what the constant. Like that, we have a different notations, logarithmic notations, that is log of n. Okay, let me see if I can give you some examples or exercise based upon that. But we will definitely look into the other examples like a linear. Linear means if the big O of n within the brackets, if we have a n means the power of n here is 1. The power of n is 1. That means it is a linear. As the value of n increases linearly, the time of that particular or the runtime of that particular algorithm increases. In the same way, we have another logarithmic where n will be multiplied by log n. Okay, the other three are important here. That is n square. N square is the power of n here is square, that is quadratic, and n cube, that is cubic, and exponential is 2 to the power of n, that is exponential. Okay, this big O notation or the calculations will be calculated. All these notations will be calculated by making use of the step count which we have studied in the previous class. Certain examples I had shown you, right? Making use of those step counts, we will try to find out the frequency of every statement in the algorithm and then calculate the big O notations or the time complexity of a particular algorithm. Okay, you may find it little difficult here to understand the concepts, but if we start with the exercises, that time you will find it very interesting and very easy to solve the or calculate the time complexities. Okay, let us straight away start with the exercises here. Give me a moment, let me share the screen. Let us take some of the examples which we had solved algorithm, some of the algorithms which we have solved already. Consider this algorithm, first one. Okay, now here we will try to find out the time complexity and space complexity, right? Find, this is exercise 1, find time complexity and space complexity of Willow algorithm. This algorithm is for swapping of two particular variables, values of the variables. First, let us try to find out the space complexity. Which is very simple. Now, what is space complexity? We need to find out the memory occupied by these particular variables. Right? Now tell me how many variables are there and what are those data types?
2 variables.
We have only 2 variables, right? The variables, say 2 integer variables, namely A and B, right? Then each integer variable requires how much of memory size? What is the memory required for one particular integer variable? That is 2 bytes. So total it will be what? A and B, that is A and B requires 2 multiplied by 2 bytes of memory, which is equals to 4 bytes. 4 bytes is the space complexity of this particular algorithm. Okay, now next calculate the time complexity. In order to write the time complexity, how I will write the algorithm here is that in front of this particular algorithm, I will make 2 columns, right? Like a 2 columns. In the first column, I will write the heading as frequency. And the second column, I will write it as total steps consumed by those particular related frequency steps, total steps. Okay, now let me write and explain every steps in detail. Now, this operation which we have here in the first line is an input operation, right? So this input operation will be executed only one times. That means the frequency of this particular operation or the instruction is only one time. So I will write it as a 1. Okay. Now, in the same time, if you look into the next statement, that is A is equals to A plus B. This A is equals to A plus B will be executed only again one time when this particular algorithm gets executed. So the frequency of this instruction or this statement again is 1. The next statement is B is equals to A minus B. In the same concept, the frequency of this statement will also remains as a 1. The next line, the frequency remains as a 1. And the next statement is again an output operation. Again, the frequency of that particular statement remains only 1. The 1 indicates in this frequency column is the value that represents how many times this particular statement is going to be executed when this particular algorithm works. Isn't it similar to the step count? Isn't it? It is similar to the step count which we had studied in the second part of the time complexity,
Yes,
right?
Yes, sir.
That step count here in the big O notation, we are trying to represent it as a frequency. Okay, and then followed by in the next column, the total steps. Total steps here, these values we will try to represent in a big O notation. We will try to represent in a big O notation. Then how can we represent in big O notation? For that, we require the table which I had given you in the PDF, where we had these values, right? Some values, what were there? Suppose if it is a big O of 1, that is a constant, right? It was a constant. And we had other values, right? Big O of n, right? Now here, if you look into the frequency, does this frequency having any instance characteristics involved in that? There are no instance characteristics involved. Means there are no value of n used here. That means it is a constant. Since it is a constant, then the big O notation will be what? Big O of 1. Big O of 1. In the same way, for the next statement, for this particular step, it is going to be big O of 1. All these statements, none of the frequencies involve the instance characteristics or the value of a n there. that indicates that the time complexity with respect to the big O notation, it remains as constant. It remains as constant. So look into all these big O of notations. The maximum value here is again a constant itself. It is 1 itself. So overall, we will consider that the big O notation, big O, that is notation of this particular algorithm. Let me call it as a swapping of a particular program, swapping of a particular variables. Then I can write it as S of P is going to be big O of only 1, because the among these steps here, the steps which I have mentioned as a big O of 1, big O of any particular value, all these values are what? Only 1. There is no value greater than 1. So I can consider that the time complexity of this particular algorithm is a constant, and I can represent it as S of P is equals to big O of 1. In the same way, for the time space complexity, I can write it as, one second, this is not a P here, it is T, because it is a time complexity. And the space complexity of this particular swapping of program, I can write S of S is equals to big O, sorry, it is 4 bytes. It is 4 bytes. Is this particular algorithm, the explanation understood? How we calculated the space complexity and the time complexity?
Yes, sir.
It was only the simple algorithm where we do not have any instance characteristics. If you look into the algorithm, there is no value of n for which these particular statements will be repeatedly executed. If we have certain statements in the algorithm which are repeatedly getting executed, then we will have a big O notation which is not a constant, which may be a linear, which may be a quadratic. It will be linear if we have a single for loops or a single while loops. If the algorithm has a nested looping statements, then it may become a quadratic or it may become a cubic. Okay, we will see those examples also here. Okay, let us take some other example and try to find out the space complexity and the time complexity of that particular algorithm. Let us take some other example, which is much little difficult than this one. The one which we have solved previously. Have we solved factorial of a program? Linear algorithm? This is largest. This is again that one. Yes, we have here. Let me take this example and try to solve or find out the time complexity and space complexity. Exercise 2. Find time complexity and space complexity of factorial of a number. Now, for examination, for point of examination, you get a question like this. Find the time complexity and space complexity of factorial of a number for 5 marks. So your answer should be writing the algorithm and then calculating the time complexity and then the space complexity. Okay, now I don't think I need to explain this particular algorithm once again for you. It is very well understood. Now what we will try to do, we will try to find out the the space as well as the time complexity. To make it it is simple. What I will do is that I will remove these particular lines. I will remove these lines. We will assume that the number which we enter is greater than or equal. It is not basically a negative number. We will assume that the number which we enter for the factorial is not a negative number. Okay. Now, let me write down the other columns here. The first one is frequency. The next one is total steps. Total steps. Now, first let us calculate time complexity. Time complexity. Tell me this line, the read n will be executed how many times? It is executed only one time. If it is executed one time, what will be its big O notation? Since it is a 1 which is a constant, that means it is big O of 1. The next is fact is equals to 1. Now this particular statement executes how many times in this algorithm? Again it is one time. That means the frequency is also 1. Then total steps remains again 1, that is big O of 1. Okay, now comes the interesting part here. Now tell me this statement executes for how many times? For I equal to n to 1 step by minus 1. This is as good as in your C code or a Java code. For I equal to n, I greater than or equal to 1, I minus minus. So yeah, as per the step count which we have studied, how many times this particular for loop statement will get executed?
N time.
N time. Okay. Any other answers?
N plus 1.
N plus 1. Any other answers? How it is n plus 1 times? How it is n plus 1 times?
No, I thought it's step plus 1. That's it. No, it's minus n plus 1.
How it is n plus 1? Because if you just try to represent this particular statement in a C code or a Java code, how it will look like? I equals to n, I greater than or equal to 1, then I minus minus, right? I minus minus. That means here the condition will be true for n times and the condition will become false one time, isn't it? This particular loop will be executed for a true value. The condition will be true for n times and the condition becomes false for one time. So it will make it as n plus one time. So the frequency of this particular line will be n plus 1 times. Okay, now look into the frequency here. It contains instance characteristics now. It contains instance characteristics. We have a n value. Now look at the power of the n. The power of n means here n raised to there is nothing. Nothing means it is 1. So n power is 1. That is it's a linear. Linear means the big O notation is going to be what? Big O of n. Maximum it can execute linearly depending upon the n value. It indicates that if n is 5, it is going to be a 5 times. In general, we are talking about big O of n here, but it will execute for n plus 1 times. If it is 100, then it will execute for 101 times. But it is a linear function. It is a linear function. Okay. Now, what about the next line here? Fact is equals to fact into I. How many times this statement will be executed?
N.
N times only, because this is a statement which is part of the for loop. Whenever the for loop condition is true, then only it gets executed. So it will execute for n time. Then what about its total steps in terms of a big O notation? What it will be? Big O of what I should write here?
N.
n times. Again, it is a linear. Again, it is a big O of n. Okay. Then the last statement is what? The output operation. This output operation will be executed how many times in this algorithm? One time. One time means it is a constant, so it is big O of 1. It is big O of 1. Now look into all these big O notations. Look into all these big O notations. What big O means? Whenever the word we hear big O means it is the maximum amount of time required to execute that particular algorithm. Right? Now, what is the maximum time? This is big O of 1. It is a constant. This is also constant. This is what? A linear. This is also a linear function. This is again a constant function. That means the maximum among this is that we got two linear functions. Means this algorithm is a linear function. Means the big O notation or the time complexity in terms of a big O is going to be a big O of n. So time complexity of this algorithm is big O of n here. Is this understood how we derived at a big O of notation for this particular algorithm as big O of n?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
If there are any doubts, please do ask, because this is the basic. Based upon this assumption or this understanding, we are going to solve all the remaining algorithms. Any doubts, students here? There are other methods. The left hand side of this one, we can write it as a other methods also. Like sometimes we do represent it as a, since it is a time complexity, sometimes we write it as T of, okay, this algorithm is for the factorial, we may write it as a factorial. This way also we can write. Time complexity of the factorial algorithm is big O of n. This is also one of the method to represent. There are various notations for this left hand side of this particular equation or the result. Okay. Now, if this is understood, yes.
Sir, the third frequency n plus 1, where the 1 goes, sir, plus 1.
Plus 1. Okay. Now, for I equal to n, I greater than or equal to 1, I minus minus. Now, is it a representation of that particular line in C or a Java?
Yes, sir.
Correct. Now, assume that n value is 5. N value is 5. Right? Initial value of I is what? 5. I becomes 5. Then 5 greater than or equal to 1 is condition true? Condition is true. Okay, then it will execute all its below lines, and then there will be a I minus minus will be implemented. There will be a I minus minus. Next time I becomes 4. 4, that is 4 greater than or equal to 1. Again condition becomes true. It will execute its statements, then again I minus minus will happen. Then next I becomes 3. Then 3 greater than or equal to 1. Condition is still true. Right? That means again I minus minus will happen. Then I becomes 2. 2 greater than or equals to 1. Condition is will execute its statements. Then again I minus minus will be performed. Then I becomes 1. Right? Then 1 greater than or equal to 1. 1 greater than or equal to 1. Condition becomes true.
True.
It will execute its condition, its statements. Then again I minus minus will happen. Next I becomes 0. Right? This time greater than or equals to 1. Condition becomes false.
False.
Okay. Now, has this particular condition executed here also? When the condition was become false, this particular statement gets executed. if you look into here, how many times this condition has resulted true value? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Is it equal to n value?
Yes, sir.
Right? Apart from that, the condition has resulted into a false value. How many times?
Once.
Once. So totally I can say this particular condition has executed how many times? 5 plus 1. That is n plus 1 times. That's why we get n plus 1 here. We may get n plus 1, n plus 2, n plus 3 or n plus 100 also. Right? But the instant characteristics power we need to look into. The instance characteristics power is 1, so it is a linear function. Linear function means it becomes big O of 1. It becomes big O of n here. Understood now?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Now let us understand how we can calculate the space complexity. This is very, very interesting. Let's see how many of you can find the number of variables. In this algorithm, tell me how many variables are there? In this algorithm, how many variables are there?
3, sir.
3 variables. What are those?
N, fact, I.
N, fact, and I. Okay, let me write it as integer variables. What are those? Fact. Start from the first line. Say there is an n. Then we have a fact. So we can write it as a fact as the second one. And then we have I also. So I. Okay. Then how many constants are there? How many constants are there in this particular algorithm? To understand that, you should know the exact meaning of this with respect to a C or a C++ for your better understanding. For your better understanding, you need to know its equivalent in C or a C++ or a Java programming. Can you tell me how many constants are there here in this particular algorithm? You may say whatever might be the answer, your answer need not to be true.
I and fact.
3.
Okay. How many constants? 3. Okay. Any other answers?
2.
2.
Sir,
Any other answers?
N is the constant. I and fact will be changing.
I and fact will be changing, right? I and fact we have considered. See, here we are trying to find out the space. Space in the sense, if in that particular algorithm, if we use any variable, we require a memory space to store that. If we use any constants, then we require certain memory to store those constants, right? So first, initially, we were looking into the variables. And basically here we can see that there are only integer variables. So we just wrote the number of integer variables and its name. So we have 3 variables. We have a n, whose value can change. We have a fact whose value can change, right? And we also have a I whose value again can change. That means those 3 are the variables. And pretty simple, these variables, since these are a integer, it requires 3 into 2 bytes of data. That is totally we get 6 bytes. That is straightforward. But what about the number of constants here? Okay, constants means you may find certain numbers, right? You can find one number in this statement. Fact is equals to 1. There is one number over here. And also you can see 1 here. And you can also see a -1. Right? Apart from that, are there any numbers used in this particular algorithm? apart from these three, this one, and this -1. There are three numbers, right? Now we need to interpret and understand among all these three numbers which are really a constants and which are not. In order to understand, let me try to write the corresponding statements, these particular steps in a C language, right? Fact equals to 1 is the first statement. Then the next one is for I equals to n, right? I greater than or equals to 1, I minus minus, and then here we have fact equals to fact into 1. Fact is equals to fact into 1. Sorry, fact is equals to fact into I, this is. Okay, now pay attention. The line number 465, that is this particular line. What is the operation involved here? What type of operation we have?
Initialization.
Initialization, or in other term, in a common term, can we call it as an assignment?
Yes, sir.
Right? This is what? Assignment. This particular statement is assignment statement. Now, assignment statement means always left hand side will be a variable. This particular variable we are assigning certain value. Isn't it? Left hand side is a variable for which we are assigning a certain value. That means what? There is certain memory space for this particular fact. There is a memory space for the fact, which we have already considered as part of our calculation here. We have already calculated the memory for this particular fact variable. Now what is happening in this statement? In this memory, we are putting some value. We are putting some value, that is 1 here. Means this 1 is not a constant. This particular 1 is not a constant. Okay, in generalize, if a algorithm has the assignment operations, if the algorithm has assignment operations, and on the right hand side you can see a value 1, this value is getting updated into its memory block, that is the variable's memory. That indicates that this is just assigning the value to a already available memory. Means this one is not a constant. It doesn't require an additional memory space. Basically, it doesn't require an additional memory space. This one is rather going and sitting in that particular already allocated memory. Okay, now the next we have 1 here, and we have actually 1 hidden in this I minus minus. This I minus minus is nothing but what? I is equals to I minus 1 basically, isn't it? I minus minus is what? I is equals to I minus 1. So we have a constant, we have a rather a number here 1, and we also have another number over here. Now let us try to identify whether are these constants or not. Okay, now look into this particular statement, I greater than or equal to 1. I greater than or equal to 1. Now, what type of operation is this? Is it a arithmetic
Relational
operation?
operator.
It is a relational operation. It is a relational operation, means binary. It is a binary operation. Binary operation means what? There are two different operands. We have two different operands. One side is a I. I is what? It is a variable. Right? So value of this particular variable I, we are comparing with what? Another value. We are comparing value of one variable with another value on the right hand side. On the other side, we have a value. Is it a variable? No, it is not a variable. It is a fixed number. Means what? It is a constant. So left hand side is a memory space. Left hand side is a memory space which is occupied as part of the variable, but right hand side is also a memory space, which is a constant. Since it is a constant, what is the data type associated with that constant? What is the data type of this number 1? It is a integer constant. It is an integer constant. That means we have figured out one constant in this algorithm. Is it understood why we consider this in this particular statement? Why we did consider 1 as a constant? Because we are taking this value and we are comparing with another value. We are trying to compare two different values. We are comparing two different values. Left hand side is a value which is already a part of a variable I, but whereas the right hand side is not a variable, it is a fixed value, right? This is a 1. So this 1 we need to store somewhere in order to compare with the variable I. We require this particular 1 value to compare with I. That means we want to store this in the memory. Since we want to store it in memory, we need to identify the memory block for this one. It depends upon the data type. What is the data type of this one? It is an integer. So we require 2 bytes for this particular constant 1. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now after that we have one more operation here. I is equals to I minus 1. I is equals to I minus 1. Here I, left hand side is a I variable which is already considered. Right hand side is we have an operation that is subtraction, right? This subtraction we are trying to subtract what? I minus 1. So in this one, if you take this for your better understanding, a minus 1. Again here minus 1 is a constant. It is a constant because we are subtracting one value from another value. We are trying to subtract one value from another value, and then we are re-updating the existing variable. So this minus 1 is treated as another constant here. So first constant was 1 and the next constant was minus 1. And both these data types is integer. So I named it as integer constant. So for these two integer constant, we require 2 bytes of a memory. So total 4 bytes of a memory is required for the constants. So overall, how much space is required now? Overall space for this particular factorial program or factorial algorithm, space is going to be 6 plus 4, that is 10 bytes of memory required. Among these 10 bytes, 6 bytes are occupied by the 3 different variables and 4 bytes are occupied by the 2 different integer constants. Okay, here only the confusion for you, definitely I can say that the confusion is why the 1 in the assignment is not considered as the constant. Why we consider those ones as the constants in the other 2 places. The reason is being here in the assignment, we don't evaluate 2 different values here. Whatever the value we have, this value we are updating into a already available memory block. This value will be updated onto the already available memory block, that is an assigning some value, right? On the other 2 sides, if you look into this statement, I equal to n up to I equal to 1. So if you try to visualize with respect to a C program, it looks like this statement, wherein we have a condition. See here I equal to n, again it is an initialization, but already this I and n are already considered. But here in this particular condition, we have a constant value, that is a 1. So this 1 is treated as the constant. Then again I minus minus. This step minus 1 means I minus minus. I minus minus means I is equals to I minus 1. Right hand side here, if you look into it, it is a subtraction operation. Subtraction operation means we require two different operands. We require two different operands. First operand is I. I is already considered as part of the variable space. So the second operand is a 1. It is a constant. So two different memories are required. One is I, other is a -1. Or you can say a subtraction operation, but with the constant 1. So another memory block is required here.